Hello and welcome to Rockstar UK. In this episode we carry on the work on the MK1 Escort, but this time she's actually running. So this is what I've got to work on. So this is a Princess AP 4-pot caliper, and at the moment I've currently got a bit of binding. So as you can see there, it's not freely spinning. So I've got to take the caliper off and just have a look at the pistons and just make sure they're moving freely. So yeah, as always, jack it up, put an axle stand on there for extra support. Wheels off already, obviously. So I'm just going to clean up this face as well, because I run these gigantic spacers because we like stance. I know it doesn't look very good, but locates perfectly, no wheel wobble. I don't get it anyway. So yeah, let's get that off. Alright, so I've just taken the brake pad out, and look at that. There's plenty of meat on there. I mean, there's loads, but the pad's obviously not sitting right to the caliper, so there's this massive lip edge, which could be why it's binding. That could actually be clipping onto the actual disc rotor itself. You can see there's actually no lip on there because this has got it instead. You usually find the actual disc itself sometimes gets like about a 2 or 3 mil little lip on the end. Obviously, where this sort of is sat like that, can you see that? There you go, like an overlap. It's worn like the actual pad pretty badly, but I'm gonna literally deburr that, so grind it off. I'm gonna exercise the caliper pistons because bad lighting. I wonder if, so you can see there, 1 piston, 2 piston, 3 piston, 4 piston. There is so much crud in there. I need to give it a good clean up and exercise those pistons and make sure that we got no nasty stuff. So I'm hot, sweaty and yucky. Dirty hands. Oh, get yourself some gloves. I'm terrible for it, but go to Halfords and buy a cheap set of gloves. It saves your hands getting like this. Because you can see how much dirt my pads make. So much dust. You can see it on my wheels all the time. Anyway, let's carry on. Right, okay, so we've taken the lip off the pads. Father Baker has made me up some new pistons, so we've gone for stainless steel pistons on there. So I'll pop those in. The seals aren't brilliant, so I'm just going to have to hope for the best and hope that we can get to Players Classics this weekend. So obviously that runs freely. I've now just got to mount all of this back up. I'm not bothering painting it because it's going to come. They've got to come off at the end of the season and be overhauled. But let's get it all back together. Then we obviously got to bleed the brakes. Hell of a lot of brake fluid came out, so obviously you get that from a big caliper anyway. But yeah, here we go. Right, we had a bit of a problem. The reason the Escort didn't make it to Players was put the caliper back on, bled the brakes, the usual thing. Unfortunately, when you first have your brakes and it's all normal, you've got like about 1/4 of a pedal, if. Obviously when we've been trying to pump the brakes and stuff, we've got more movement, and unfortunately it inverted the seals. Just my mistake. So I've got a new master cylinder. Now this is quite a tricky job. Looks like I'm going to have to take the whole pedal box assembly out, so I'm going to have to disconnect the clutch, disconnect the throttle, and then disconnect the 2 brake reservoirs at the top, and then yeah, feed it all through and hope I don't get bloody brake fluid everywhere. As you can tell, I'm not very enthusiastic about this bit, but job's got to be done. So let's crack on. So this is why I'm not enthusiastic, because there's hardly any room. So throttle cable's got to be disconnected, and it's actually this master cylinder here that's the one that's playing up. So I've started taking a couple of bolts out. I've taken the brake switch out, and then this pedal has basically got a pin that goes through it, which holds like a little ring tag, which is got on the end of the clutch cable. So that's got to come off, and then I don't know if you can see at the top here we've got a, I think I'm just going to clamp that and clamp that one as well for the rear brakes, undo them as best as I can, and then you see just about halfway along this at the top, that's where a hard line is. If they were flexible, we could have actually sort of moved this around, but it's not. Bloody brakes, I hate them. Who needs them anyway? And that's my bias. You see it comes all the way up to here, so that when I'm in the car you can just dilly whatever you want. Yeah, so there's the interior as well. I don't think you've ever seen the Escort interior, but old school. Right, so water can't reach. That's the clutch gone, and it's literally this little bolt feeds through that way, and between the sort of bracket you got just in the middle here is where a little ring tag, which I just said, which is crimped onto the end of the actual clutch cable that this holds onto. You can see it's actually got a little bit of wear on it where it's probably been moving around with that on it. So obviously I've taken these 2 bolts out already, which is those 2 up there. I've just got to undo those up there for the throttle cable, but I hate doing the throttle cable because I can never get it to feel as good as what I've got there. Anyway, let's carry on. Right, so oh, hang on. Right, so as you can see now, the throttle pedal bit's taken off. So that little thing there that you can see is like a holder that like literally slides over the top, gets held by a grub screw, and then you just pull the cable tight as to where you want to actually like sit your pedal. Obviously you don't want it all the way up there, but you want to give yourself enough travel. So literally now it's really loose now. I've just got to take off those all the connections really that go into the 2 master cylinders, because I've got to take this whole assembly out. There is something here that's sort of like going through. I've got a feeling that might be the choke cable, but that's like a 2-minute job. So right, so after lots of fiddling and faffing, it's finally out. So I did have to where this was riveted on to a panel, I had to just drill the rivet out. That's right, it's just pop rivet, squeezy one, job done. Obviously I'd already done this, so what I did is I got some pipe clamps and clamped the pipe that was above this, then undid it, got all the other bits off, got the pipe out of the way, and then let the pipe grip go and drained it into a jug. This one I actually clamped it and left it there because this one's actually pretty good. So on the back, let me see if you can see. Can you see down in there? Yep. Okay, so obviously throttle, clutch is on this side, this is the front, and this is the rear brakes. So how a bias works is, you see you got 2 rods, which if you look, slightly adjusted in different lengths. You can see, if I push that back, you can see roughly what it looks like. So you adjust it so that you have more on the front than you do the back. So obviously you normally work on a ratio of around about 60 to 40%. Inside here there's a little bearing that sort of sits in the middle. You adjust this and this so that you get it sitting right, and there's plenty of tutorials on the internet to show you how to set it up properly. And then this bar here, this like turny thing, if you twist it, what it does is it adjusts the pressure between the two, so that what happens is basically the bar will sit like that, so that you'll have more going like that onto the front, or you can set it like that, so you got more on the rear than the front. Obviously, if you've got more on the rear, it can actually set the car off into a spin. So I'd advise not to do that. Whereas most cars, you know, they'll have 60-40 approximately, or 70-30, something like that. So basically this bar here just adjusts the bias, hence why it's called bias pedal box, to which master cylinder that you want it to. You can normally get around about a 30% difference using this bar. I think it's roughly, I can't remember how many turns it is, but a certain amount of turns works out to something like 4%. So it's quite a difference that you can actually have on it. So what we're going to do is take this one off. So we'll have to undo this, take it off of this rod. Might be able to see a bit more from the end. Take it off of that rod, and we'll put the new one in. Okay, so we got that one off. You basically just, don't want to leak it everywhere. You basically just twist it until it comes out the thread on here, on this. One thing to mention, normally you would have a smaller master cylinder for the front, because obviously this has got more distance to travel, etc. But you normally have a smaller one on the front, obviously because there's less distance to travel with it, isn't it? But we've got a direct replacement, which is here. So we've got a Motor Mech. I've gone for a 0.625, which is basically a direct replacement of this one. This is a proper Girling one, so it's a Girling 625. I'll probably have to nick this fitting out of here and fit it to this one. That one can come out because the one in the car just screws straight into it. So yeah, that basically will fit directly. Oh, sorry, we couldn't even see on the camera. That'll fit directly into there, and we'll get that on, and job done. We can get it all back together and get the car driving. Alright, so we've got the new master cylinder bolted up with a new fit, or the fitting taken off of that one and put onto this one. Bias box is all screwed together. We just got a where's it gone? That nut's not there. Where's it gone? Alright, better go find a nut. Right, I found a nut. So see, it's there. So what we do is we back that up to there, and that stops the movement. But we're all bolted up now. Basically, put it in the car, set the bias box up, bleed the system, and we're finally, hopefully, fingers crossed, get the car back on the road again. Right, so pedal box is back in. You can see I've connected all the tops, I've put the throttle cable back in, I've put the clutch cable back in, I've connected everything back up. New master cylinder's in, I've set the bias up, so we just got to fiddle with that when we actually start testing. But yeah, it's just got to tidy it up, and then I've got to bleed the brakes. Hi, hello. So we bled the brakes. Brakes are now working. Actually had a problem here trying to do it like manually by doing the pedal and then topping up the reservoir. It was still had air in the system, so the pedal was spongy. So RB Auto Care, up on the Fleetsbridge Industrial Estate helped me out. They pressure bled the system, got the air out. There was a couple of like bleed nipples around the back, which they bled that and bled the normal position. And yeah, tested it, all works. So in the next video, we're actually going to be going to Gravity Show up in Stoneleigh this weekend, 14th and 15th. So on the 14th we've got to go and set the cars up, and then the 15th is the actual show. The Ruckus and the Escort are going to be there. So if you're going to have a look around the show and you find me, just come and say hello and have a good chat, and I'll show you around the car and the bike. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I'm at 60 subscribers at the moment, which I'm ever so grateful for, but I'd like to hit that 100. And there's a little bell notification. If you just tick that, it tells you when new videos come up from me. So see you in the next video.